program, I'm going to introduce our hymn that I'm going to use this time to share some memories of my mom. So, thinking this week about what I was going to share about the memories of my mom and what I could highlight, there were a lot of things. And as for most people, there were many facets and phases of Mom's life. But when I learned that our dear cousins from Nebraska were coming to be with us today, it was clear to me what to share. Mom's family valued music greatly, and each of the 4 children in her family played at least one instrument through college and into their adult lives. Mom played her trumpet well into her 70s and loved to sing. I remember standing beside her in this sanctuary and realizing for the first time that she was not singing the melody, and it still sounded good. And I wanted to learn to do that. And from then on, reading the alto part became math to me, and it was just a fun project. But back to Mom and her family. Her younger brother, Rodney, and if you read the obituary, he's the one for whom Mom smuggled the cookies in her bloomers upstairs so they could eat them clandestinely under the bed. And he made music his profession. And he's a much lauded music teacher and famous for directing and producing The Messiah every year for the past 56 years. And Rodney and Mom were really best friends. They would talk on the phone nearly every day up until the last months of Mom's life. And I remember when I lived at home, the dishes were done and most of us were asleep, and Mom would be out in the kitchen on the phone with Rodney. And they would talk for hours. They would talk music, old friends, fashion, food, whatever you had to have. And Mom had girls my age. And so Rodney's girls became my best friends. Mom loved to travel to Nebraska, the Great Plains where she spent her childhood. And by osmosis then, so did we. We would travel by car, train, sometimes we flew, but it was always a highlight of the year. And we'd usually arrive in Nebraska on a Friday night, and sometime late Saturday afternoon, we would somehow be enlisted to be part of Sunday morning music, or sing in the choir. But it was always fun. But here's payback in Richville. We have asked Rod's 2 daughters, Celeste and Stephanie, to sing Children of the Heavenly Father, a traditional Swedish hymn, in Swedish, and we asked them yesterday. But they're good sports and have beautiful voices, and we're blessed to have them with us. I know that Mom and Dad, Grandma and Grandpa, and the Legions are smiling down. So we'll all join them from verses 1, 3, and 5, and that would be on page 300 in your green hymnal, and page 89 in the brown.
And Good afternoon. My name is Emma Lundberg, and this is my brother Ansel, and we're Grant's children and Ruth's grandchildren. Today we are going to share our Grandma Ruth story with you. But before we do, I'd like to first thank everyone for traveling to Richville today to celebrate our beloved Grandma's life. Thank you. Ruth Marilyn Wendell Lundberg was born on February 21st, 1926 in Keene, Nebraska to Vera and Joe Wendell. Her father, Joe, was a cattle, wheat, and corn farmer, and her mother, Vera, was a homemaker. The family was active in the Keene Evangelical Free Church, a church that remained important to Ruth her entire life. Ruth grew up with 3 siblings, her older brother Dwight, her older sister Anne, and her younger brother Rodney. My great-uncle Rodney describes Ruth as an adventurous and spirited person. She was someone who liked to investigate the highest trees, roofs, and barns, and she even had been known to slide down the steep roofs of tall barns in a dress, just for fun. Growing up on the Nebraska prairie, she developed a lifelong appreciation of nature and animals. As a little girl, I remember Grandma Ruth would drive me and Ansel in her big Buick around rich rice fields looking for white egrets, which she called friends. In grade school and high school, Ruth's favorite subject was music. She played the trumpet and sang alto and choir. She even sang in an a cappella trio with her brother Rodney, and they traveled the Midwest, attending church singing conventions in Minnesota and Colorado. Her love of music was also something that was passed on to me, Ansel, and my cousins. I remember Grandma Ruth never missed one of our music recitals. She drove us to many music lessons and took us to the symphony too. In her later years at Prestige, Grandma's favorite time of the week was the Melodies at 2 concert. In 1942, at 16 years old, Ruth graduated from high school in Axtell, Nebraska, and started college at Kearney College. She studied home economics, or as it was known back then, commerce, and was involved with
That's what it said.
She was involved with a variety of student organizations, including a cappella choir, synchronized swimming, home economics club, theater club, student council, and the YCA, just to mention a few. She was a leader and popular among her fellow students, and was known for having a flair for fashion and cooking. Shortly after World War II ended, she was even named Kearney College's first ever homecoming sweetheart. After college, Ruth applied her education to a career in teaching and taught home ec at the local schools in Fremont and Axtell, Nebraska for 6 years. Then, when she was 27 years old, she met her future husband, my grandpa, Eldon Lundberg.
So some Richville residents remember meeting Ruth when she visited town just before the two got married. Soon after these visits, on December 4th, 1953, on a snowy night in Nebraska, Ruth married Eldon Lundberg at the Keene Evangelical Free Church. They had a second reception at the Country Kitchen restaurant in Gridley, where the Richville folks who couldn't make it to Nebraska for the wedding after some of them tried to take a train to Nebraska but were thwarted by storms. This Gridley reception marked the time when some of Ruth's future family began getting to know her. After this, Ruth and Eldon shared a honeymoon in New Orleans, Louisiana, and then returned to Richville to begin their shared life. In their early years together, Ruth and Eldon lived in an apartment in the Thermalito area of Oroville. During this time, they were building themselves a house in Richville, and in the summer of 1954, they moved into that new home. After a few years, they had their 3 children, Jennifer, Grant, and Juliana. Ruth's friends and neighbors, Dodo and Luby Grell, remember taking their boat up to the newly filled Lake Oroville with Ruth, Eldon, and the two couples' children to enjoy the cool water and some Rice Krispie treats for the kids. Ruth's children will remember her ringing a bell to call them in for dinner in the evening when they were done playing. And as the kids got older, Ruth and Eldon would take them to Mount Hermon Family Camp near Santa Cruz with other friends and family from Richvale, a summertime tradition that would continue until the late 2000s. This church, the Richvale Evangelical Free Church, played an important part in Ruth's life in Richvale. She sang in choruses and a trio, played trumpet with Eldon's brother Homer, and was a member of the Women's Missionary Society. Ruth was herself an accomplished homemaker, hosting countless dinner parties and maintaining a beautiful yard. As a founder of Lundberg Family Farms, she accompanied Eldon on many business trips, and she was also a member of the Flying Farmers with Eldon, and they covered many miles together in the sky. Later in her life, we remember Ruth as a loving grandmother. Our mother said, even as a cautious new parent, that she always felt comfortable leaving us with Ruth when they had to leave for days at a time. She and Eldon generously blessed their grandchildren with the opportunity to go to college. Ruth was such a kind and thoughtful person, and she knew how to make us all feel loved. Her family and friends, those who could be here today and those who could not, will miss her dearly and will always remember her fondly. Thank you.
And now I'd like to read some memories from my cousin Georgia May, who couldn't be here today. She lives in New York City. From Georgia. Grandma Ruth was an inspiration. I remember when I would be spending the afternoons in Richvale with Eldon and Ruth. Ruth would ask Grandpa if we could take a 2-block drive to see the ducks and the birdhouses the workers at the farm had built. We would pull up to the little canal by the warehouse and drive as slowly as we could, so as not to scare off any of the critters. Sometimes we would stumble upon a family of ducklings, and other times we would see no movement. Ruth would always insist we wait for at least 30 minutes before leaving, just to make sure that perhaps we hadn't temporarily scared off any birds. At such a young age, I never quite understood why Ruth liked going to see and wait for these birds, when at times we would see them only for a brief moment. Waiting for the small, insignificant creatures made no sense to me at the time, but now I understand. Grandma was able to see beauty in everything. Whether she had to wait 5 or 45 minutes for the ducks to come out of their houses, Ruth knew it was worth the wait to see even the tiniest of God's amazing creations. Grandma taught me to be patient and to find beauty in everything God has given us. I am so blessed to have had grandparents who understood the joy of simple things. Ruthie was and always will be my spunky, tender-hearted grandma.
Hello, I'm Grant Lundberg, Ruth's son. I have a few memories and thoughts of Mom that I'd like to share with you. I remember Mom as a kind and dependable and even-tempered, hardworking and loving person. This was demonstrated to me many times over the years. When I was a kid, I enjoyed raising ducks and geese. She'd help me with these foul projects. We'd go to Courier's in Orville to get ducklings and goslings. As we shopped, she'd remind me I'd also need some feed and maybe a heat lamp to keep them warm. Many times, these projects would end with a visit from a dog. Mom would comfort me as I weep over the loss. And when I was ready, she wanted to help me get going again. I tried to play the bassoon, and she loved it. She'd get me reeds and the reed tools and music and even a bassoon. And she let me know when I was practicing how she enjoyed my playing. She would praise me on my phrasing and my dynamics. She loved music and really enjoyed it when I tried to play. As Mom would have neighbors, friends, family, pastors, and missionaries to our house for dinner, I learned to admire her skills as a host. She made it easy for me to help her. She taught me all the things that needed to be done to put a meal on the table and to have people over. I felt so useful